There is a primal fear that comes with true isolation, a silence so profound it becomes a sound itself. It is the peace you seek in the vast northern woods of Minnesota, but it is also the void into which terror creeps. This is the account of three souls who sought solitude in the deep wilderness and instead found something deeply, chillingly wrong. The first 3 days were perfect, an empty lake, a private wilderness. I felt completely safe. The air was crisp, the water was clear, a final perfect trip before the long winter silence. Then the fourth sunrise brought the silent indictment. Heavy, unmistakable boot prints scarred the dew-damp ground, circling the campsite, leading right up to the very fabric of the tent where I had slept, unaware, vulnerable. A visitor had come and gone, a silent phantom, and they had left no note, no camp, only the cold certainty of being watched. They spent the day searching the perimeter. The forest offered no answers. That night, sitting by the fading embers, half asleep and deeply unsettled, the silence shattered. A voice. It called my name, not a greeting, but a summons. It was distinct, impossible, and from the absolute darkness beyond the firelight. I tried to rationalize it, a dream, a trick of the mind, a mere hallucination from exhaustion. But then it came again, closer, louder. The voice was luring me out, pulling me toward a black abyss. I stood frozen, transfixed by the tree line, only my pounding heart giving sound to the night. I saw only a faint, uncanny outline standing by the dying fire. In the face of that silent, knowing figure, instinct overruled curiosity, a primal, urgent command to survive. I ran. I fled the camp, leaving everything to that silent predator. The relief of reaching my car and escaping those woods was indescribable. But the haunting question remains, who knew my name, and why? The second encounter begins with a sudden change. A friend, a co-worker named Cameron, fired and eager for that long-promised camping trip. But the man in the woods was not the man from the office. From the moment we set off on the trail, I noticed a chilling shift in his demeanor. He was tense, elusive. He kept vanishing abruptly, excusing himself mid-sentence, walking into the trees like he had an appointment with the deep wilderness, always returning with no explanation, denying he had gone anywhere. The true terror arrived at 3 a.m. I woke to the sound of low, private chatter outside. The tent was open. Cameron's spot was empty. I knew something was fundamentally wrong. When he finally emerged from the trees, trying to mask a tense face with a nervous smile, he denied the other voice, denied the conversation, the very presence of another soul. But the darkness betrayed him. I heard the slow, deliberate crunch of another man's footsteps approaching the camp, heavy, methodical steps that meant danger. The air hung thick with unsaid betrayal and a rising tide of paranoia. I looked at Cameron. His eyes were full of a cold certainty that chilled me to the bone. The only rational response left was panic, a desperate flight. I bolted. I left everything, knowing I was escaping a setup, a dark, premeditated rendezvous, not just a strange night. I didn't stop running until I reached my car and the silence of the highway, leaving behind the unsettling truth. I never contacted him again. The third story begins with a first-time camper seeking comfort in a familiar forest near her rental cabin. From the moment she stepped onto the trail, she felt the pressure, the hollow, awful certainty of being watched. This feeling materialized at the campsite in the form of a man. Tall, unsettlingly young, with a blank face and a stretched, strange smile, an empty mask of politeness. He had no supplies, just a tiny mesh tent, no sleeping bag, no food. He was there only to watch. As the sun dropped, fear replaced determination, and she decided to flee the isolation, back to the safety of the cabin. She packed and fled, listening to the silence behind her, relieved when she saw an empty trail. But her relief was short-lived. She turned to look again, and there he was, a distant figure, moving deliberately down the path after her. The adrenaline surged, pushing her faster. She reached the cabin, locking every door, staring out at the woods as the final light died. Then came the climax of the terror, a sudden, violent, relentless banging on the front door. Not a knock, a desperate, furious fist against the wood. He had followed her home. The sound only stopped when she began to speak to the police. He knew he was discovered. The steps ran around the house, testing the windows, before vanishing back into the suffocating darkness. A chilling lesson. Sometimes your gut is the only line between you and the deep, silent intent of the woods. These are the times when isolation turns into exposure, when the only thing separating you from the unknown is a thin layer of nylon or a single locked door. The voices fade, the footsteps disappear, but the terrifying question remains: what was it they truly wanted?